मुंह से.
Oh my bad. Okay.
Mm.
Get some
All
lights.
right, we are live.
Yes, sir.
Coolio. Okay, so we were discussing the subdivision scheme concept yesterday before we left,
Yes.
and that is basically attribute value that tells OpenUSD whether a surface needs to be smoothed or not, or does it need to be covered in a polygon mesh.
Mm-hmm.
So basically, yeah, that's pretty much. And the potential values for subdivision scheme can be Catmull-Clark. By default, we need to set it to none so that uh, in exam for like if there's a statement that is a DCC exports polygonal mesh to USD, but they render rounded in USD view or another renderer. So, what is the best explanation for this statement? So, we can answer that subdivision scheme is set to none.
For
Um,
polygonal.
yeah, so that enables the that enables the object to be smooth.
Mm-hmm.
So there are a couple of gotchas that we need to be aware of when we are studying subdivision scheme. That is basically a subdivision scheme does not change the author topology. So it says USD adds more vertices into my mesh data. So that is a wrong statement. The correct statement would be the mesh data stays the same. The render may interpret it as subdivision surface at render time. So USD file points plus face vertex indices stay authored. Renderer my tessellation slash tessellate slash smooth for display rendering. I think this was one of the options, right?
Yes. So
Tessellate
what was
slash
tessellation
smooth.
again? Wait. Oh, tessellation is smoothness. Oh, okay, okay, okay.
Smoothness for displaying
Smoothness.
or rendering.
Mm-hmm.
So tessellate means to smoothen or something like
Mm-hmm.
that. Let me open my notebook as well. 1 second. So subdivision scheme. All right. So yeah. So this is the important part.
Mm-hmm.
If the subdivision scheme is none, then render the cage directly or render as it is. If is it equal to Catmull Clark, you need to treat the cage as a smooth control surface. Treat the object as smooth control surface. Simple example, polygon cube versus smooth cube that we saw yesterday. Okay. Define mesh at prim, that is fine. Hard interfere. We already did this, we did this, we did this, we did this. Does not, so subdivision scheme does not change
Uh,
topology. Okay, wrong mental model is USD adds more vertices to mesh data. Right one is the mesh data stays the same. The renderer may interpret it as subdivision scheme, subdivision surface at render time. Okay, points plus face vertex indices stay authored. Renderer may tessellate slash smooth for display rendering. So the changes are going to be in the renderer, not the USD file.
Mm-hmm.
Okay,
So it will only have the smoothing effect.
yeah. So it will change the renderer, not the file.
Normal is how light shades the surface. Okay.
Okay, are not same thing. Okay, normals are not a same thing as subdivision.
But how light shades the surface? Normal affects the it affects the shading direction. The subdivision affects the geometric interpretation,
Hmm.
whereas normals is how light shade the surface. Gotcha. Leaving it unspecified can cause unexpected visual results. So for clean interchange, export pipelines do not rely on assumptions. If the source mesh is intended to polygonal author, uniform token subdivision schema is none. Gotcha. For if it is a mesh attribute, not a primware, subdivision schema is not a primware. Hmm.
Okay. Oh, I think I know why do we get more views at night. I think because more people from India watch the stream than in America.
Bro, I don't know, bro.
No, I know
Like,
because I can see the demographic on
oh,
the
you can see.
YouTube studio. Yeah.
Oh, I see.
I think 70% of the viewers are from India.
Hmm. I see. I think it's because of your account. Like initially, you started to stream from India, right? Like a couple of streams that you have regarding. I think you were playing Valorant or something like that.
Yeah.
So maybe
Apex.
because of that.
Now I'm gonna play GTA 6 on
Oh,
stream.
nice.
Yeah. Okay, Gotcha 4. What was Gotcha 3? Leaving it unspecified can cause unexpected visual results for clean interchange.
You
Export
always have
pipelines do
to.
not rely on assumptions. It is source material. Okay, always author subdivision scheme to none. Or,
So my question is, what happens if we if we do not specify it? What is the
mhm.
default value will it pick up? That would be my question.
I think that's what they are trying to say over here, that do not rely on assumptions. If the source mesh is intended to be polygonal, author.
Uh, is left scheme is left unauthored. What will be the data? Look, what will be the value default value that will be authored?
It is a mesh attribute, not a
Okay,
primware.
by default, it will use Catmull Clark subdivision surface by
Mm-hmm.
default. So the default value that it will pick up will be Catmull Clark
Mm-hmm.
if it is left
Okay,
unauthored.
and can you also ask it if like we do not specify subdivision scheme at all, what is the default?
What if we do not specifier
The
server
subdivision scheme attribute at all.
scheme attribute at all. What will be the value authored? If you never author the subdivision schema attribute all at all, no value is returned into USD file. The mesh simply uses the schema's fallback, which is catmull Clark. So at that point as well, it's gonna use the catmull Clark. What if
I see.
the schema fallback is also not defined? If the schema does not define a fallback for an attribute, you also never author a value. The attribute simply has no value. Okay, so if the schema fallback is also not defined, then we will get nothing, none. That is the base logic we always have.
Mm-hmm.
And saying that for something like subdivision scheme, the code schema does define a fallback catmull Clark, which is why unauthored meshes still subdivide. Removing the fallback would mean that mesh has no subdivision mode at USD level, and tools would need custom logic. Example, default to polygons. So like
Mm-hmm.
by default, it's saying that the if you are even not authoring anything, by default it will always have a schema fallback, and that schema fallback resolves up to Catmull Clark, I would say.
Mm. Okay. So, okay, gotcha for us, it's not a mesh attribute. It's a mesh attribute, not a prim bar.
Hmm.
Not prim bar. Okay, it belongs directly on USD Geom mesh prim. Not prim bar subdivision scheme is equal to normal. Okay, so that is okay. So that is subdivision scheme. I think that's enough on subdivision scheme. We can move to the next. So we did USD CAD, USD checker, conceptual data mapping, USD zip. Now we can look at what file format is my .usd file that is in the FAQs.
Hmm.
So what file format is my USD file as shown in the table above, this table.
Hmm.
USD file creates with plain.usd extension can either be binary backed crate files or text files. This can be advantageous in certain scenarios. For example, if one has USD files which contain reference to plain.usd assets. Those assets can be converted between binary and text without changing the sources which refer to them. Okay. When authoring USD, the underlying format of or encoding .usd extension can be specified using file format arguments as observed in SDF layer create new or SDF layer export. Developers can also use the USD default file format environment variable to control the default underlying format. So I think you can set this USD default file format value in your environment as well environment variable to
Hmm.
control the default underlying format. The environment variable is used when the underlying format is not explicitly specified through file format arguments. The environment variable is used when the underlying format is not explicitly specified to file format arguments. What is file format arguments? Type of for specifying additional file format specific arguments to layer API. So type def std map std string file format argument. Member type def documentation file format argument definition at line 107. I see. Okay. Layer.h. Okay. So type for specifying additional file format specific argument. So whenever the value is not set in the file format arguments, the fallback would go to the environment variable that has been set in USD default file format. And then valid values for the USD default file format environment variables and their behaviors are detailed below. So unset is random access create. So it will fall back to USDC over here. Random access
Okay.
create binary. And USDC is again random access create binary.
And
And
default
USDA
file.
is human readable UTF-8 text.
Okay. Okay.
Okay, what character encoding does .usda support? The USDA file format encodes a text as UTF-8. What is UTF-8?
UTF-8 is the encoding format that uses that is basically used everywhere.
Unicode transformation format 8-bit. The dominant character encoding system used for electronic communication. It translates letters between symbols and emojis into unique binary numbers computers can understand. Okay. So USD does not enforce or apply Unicode normalization. As an example, the second letter in whatever that is, Munich can be represented in UTF-8 blah 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 blah. Okay, this is not what we need. How can I convert USD files between binary and text? USD cat can be used to convert files between file formats with plain .usd files. You can change them using the USD format option. Although you can specify USD format USDC, it is not necessary since the out file .usd argument will default choose the USDC format. Okay, so USD cat file .usd out file .usd USD format USDA. Okay, so alternatively, one can convert using explicit X file extensions such as USDA, USDC directly. So USD cat. Okay, so this was the question in the exam, bro, that we got wrong. I fucking did the renaming thing like
Mm-hmm.
idiot. What data types are supported? See basic data types for scene description. Yeah, this is the one that we got fucked on.
Mm-hmm.
This is the documentation for that. But it is not clear where we need to use what represents a resolvable path to another asset.
Dude, like it depends upon like what kind of data you're dealing with. That's the basic representation for how to use data types. Like if you go through the code base and code snippets that they gave us, like I was only able to infer through them. Okay, like usually for color matrix, color arrays, we are going to use color 3f. That's going to be more float.
Hmm. I see. Okay, so we have done that. Let me just note down USD cat to convert. Mm, USD cat file .usd out. Shouldn't the output over here be file .usda if it is
Dude,
trying
no,
to
no,
convert
no,
it
no,
into
no.
USDA?
File.usd out, output file.usd format USDA. Although you can specify USD format USDC, it is not necessary since.
Because look at this, it is saying file.usdc output. So it should be USDA over here.
How can I convert files between binary and text? USD cat can use convert with files between the file formats with plain .usd file. You can change the file format option. .usd USDA. I think out is the file name that is trying that it is trying over there first. It is not in
Out
source.
is not the file name, bro. File.usd is the file name. Out is a flag. Do you see
No, no, no.
these?
Like out is representing the file name.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. So the output of the file name is needs to be your .usda.
Okay, what is ChatGPT saying about this?
I'm asking it on the is this correct? The output format is your USDA, but the out flag is pointing at the .usd file. Do we have a correction? The output file is still named file.usd while underlying encoded format inside the .usd file is being forced to USDA text by USDF for USD format USDA. The OpenUSD FAQ gives the exact pattern for converting .usd. I know that NVIDIA converting layers has relevant data. USD has three common native file extensions: USD. Idea, yeah, we know that. That means the file name can internally be USDA or USDC. Oh, the USD format USDA, even though the output extension US command looking confusing. Okay, sets the internal encoding only when the output file has generic USD extension. Actual internal format USDX. Okay, visual photo binary. Okay. Use this instead. Okay. Okay.
So why are we using that over there?
It is
Like it,
basically saying that .usd can be either USDC or USDA encoded. So
oh,
it does not matter. But if you
but the
specifically
important thing you matter is the use format thing, right?
what?
Like if we have to verify that what format we are trying to use. If
Yeah,
the flag,
if you're trying to specify the format, you need to use USD format USDA. But if you okay, so if you say out file.usda like over
mm-hmm.
here, so you can ignore or leave out the USD format flag and just do this. It will USD will automatically understand. Okay, you need a ASCII text for the USDA file.
Hmm.
So that is okay. Okay, we are done with that. Now, USDZ file format specification. What is that? USDZ file format specification. We have that over here. USDZ. Accelerated. Oh, 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 oh. Open them Gangnam style. Accelerated. Oh. USDZ file format specification. That's a big ass topic. Damn.
Hmm.
And they want us to cover it completely. Yes. USDZ file format specification. USDZ file format specification. Purpose USDZ. Okay. USD provides multiple features that could make it compelling to choice for 3D content delivery, including robust schema for interchange, blah blah, high performance data retrieval and rendering, including powerful instancing features, ability to package user selectable content variation natively, sound architecture that is flexible enough to adapt to future needs. However, part of USD's appeal is its ability to create 3D scene by composing many modular data sources filed together into successively large and larger aggregations. Okay, however, part of USD's appeal is its ability to create a 3D scene by composing many modular data sources file into together successively larger and larger aggregations. While very useful within content creation pipeline, this aspect can be very large hindrance to using USD to deliver assets in form that they have been built up. In particular, even the USD does provide several means of flattening the multiple USD files into single file. There is, by design, no mechanism for representing images, textures as the scene description encodable in USD files. Content delivery is simplified and useful on broader range of platforms when the content is a single object from marshalling and transmission perspective, potentially streamable, usable without unpacking to file system. Content delivery is simplified and useful on broader range of platforms when the content is single object from okay, potentially streamable and usable without unpacking to the file system. Okay, usable without unpacking to the file system. We believe we can address these concerns by leveraging USD's file format plugin mechanism too. Okay, this is the file format plugin documentation over here. What? It just linked to fucking SDF.
Oh, it's the same thing that that we went through right now. I think I have gone through this thing. Like it has plugin info.json and everything.
Where?
Like over here, you see
Oh
this plugin
yeah.
info.
No,
Yeah.
no, no. That is the schema, bro. That was a schema. This is
Oh,
that was a codeless schema.
no,
This
no,
is
no,
file format
no,
plugin.
no, no. Yeah, no, but like it is following the same format. Like the plugin info.json will have everything, even the
Mm-hmm.
schema, even everything. Like it's a I would say it's a unified or global file that you can use it for a lot of things.
Mm-hmm. Okay, we'll take a look at that later. Okay, file format plugin mechanism to design an archive format that contains and proxies for file format for files of other formats embedded within the archive. Mechanism to design an archive format that contains proxies for files other formats embedded within the archive. This document provides the specification for such a format for which we will assign the .usdz extension. We refer to the format as the .usdz format, as we similarly refer to the to the USD and USDC file formats. Only when performing the state of the start of the sentence or word in a class name do we capitalize it, such as SDF USDZ file format. We refer to USDZ files as packages. Okay, so USDZ files are known as packages and design rest on a new AR level abstraction of a package, of which the SDF USDZ file format is the first implementation, but we retain the architecture required to easily add others in the future if needed. Hmm. Okay. A USDZ package is a compressed zip archive that is allowed to contain the following file types: USDA, USDC, and USD image, PNG, okay, audio. The rest of the section goes into more detail about the specification. Foundation USDC package is a zip archive. Rationale. Zip files are ubiquitous and supported by modern computing environments, although we are only using subset of zip's feature set. By choosing zip over a format of our own devising, we make it easy for USDC files to be useful as simple transport protocol whereby the receiver just unzips the content and has normal USDC description to work with and inspect. The zip constraints: USDC package is zero compression and encrypted zip archive. This is zero compression, so we reserve the ability to relax this constraint in the future, but consider it unlikely. USDZ packages zero compression. A key consideration for efficient direct consumption of USD files is that given the package is already held in the heap storage, possibly arriving over a network, or as a single file on the disk, we be able to use the most direct APIs available in the USD for accessing the data contained within the package without extracting files to disk or allocating more heap storage. If we allowed either compression or encryption in USDC packages, we would need to violate one or both of the preconditions that allow, for example, the USD and USDC format to access their data via direct memory access, typically via mmap. Okay, we do not believe the lack of zip compression will be a serious concern for data size. Most image formats themselves allow internal compression schemes. The USDC format is quite compact, particularly as you collect more data into a single file. Although we do not yet have an user tool for doing so, USD now contains all of the core features we require to aggregate an arbitrary composition's worth of USD files into a single file without removing any composition feature from the scene. This is a bottleneck, I guess. Layout, the only absolute layout requirement USDC packages make for blah 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 multiple simple reference package. Okay, then the first file in the package must be a native USD file. This is important. But otherwise, there are no constraints. So, the only constraint is the first file in the USDZ package needs to be a USD file. Otherwise, there are no constraints on the number or layout of other files in the package. We refer to this as the first USD file as the default layer. In analogy to the default prim metadata used to allow layer references to lead a prim target. What does fucking lead mean? The standard meaning of verb lead is to omit. Okay, most frequently uses the term. Okay, so lead a prim target. So in default analogy to the default prim metadata used to allow layer references to omit a prim target. Okay. Clients wishing to deliver streamable content may wish to consider the other layout constraints as well. Okay. File types, USD packages, USDC packages can contain only file types whose data can be consumed by USD runtime via mmap pointer memory. Okay, can we file types whose data can be consumed by USD runtime via mmap pointer to memory or thread safe access to a file that is solely pred like access. This excludes, for example, alembic files. Currently allowable file types are currently USDA, USDC, and USD files. Apple's current USDC implementation allows only single USDC file, but this restriction will be lifted in the future OS updates. Oh, Apple's current USDC implementation. Mm-hmm. So PNG, JPEG, any of multiple common extensions for JPEG, OpenEXR, and AV1 image, AVIF files for images, texture, C working with image file format. For more details on supported image file formats, okay, USD constraints, M4, MP3, WAV, WAV files for embedded audio given an order reference, we wish need. Ever unpack USDC package to consumers contents in USD runtime, both because some target platforms may be unable to do so because managing caches and extracted package contents between processes is fraught. To make USDC packages maximally useful within production pipelines, we impose no further constraints on the allowable content within a package of particular note. Uh, okay, it is possible to reference individual files within a package from outside the package. Oh, packages can themselves contain other packages. Okay. Where the key intention of the package is to provide perfectly reproducible results in arbitrary consuming environments. Okay, so it's basically acting like a Docker container for USD. It may be useful to enforce restrictions on the kind of asset paths encoded in USD files within the package. If we explore this further for reproducible results, encapsulate using an anchored system asset paths. And imagine that adherence to such protocols may be something useful to encode in the package metadata. See next item. There is no mandatory. Okay, we don't need the a USDZ file is read-only editing file. Its contents requires first unpacking. Okay, so USDZ is read-only. Editing contents requires the first unpacking the package and editing its constituent parts using appropriate tools. Since USDZ is a core USD file format, one can use USD-CAD and USD-edit on the packages. Okay, so USDZ is a core file format, so you can use USD-CAD and USD-edit on the packages. So it is read-only. Editing its contents requires first unpacking the package and editing its constituent parts using appropriate tools. Okay, if the package contains default layer, USD-CAD will print its contents. Otherwise, it prints nothing. If the package contains default layer file, USD-edit will populate an editor with its contents, but with the no effect option in force, preventing the saving of any changes. Otherwise, it will show an empty layer. Okay. I see. Accessibility, although not required if creators of USDC packages or SDF layers add documentation to add documentation string to the default layer, then consumers of USDC packages can retrieve the textual description using SDF layer, get documentation on the default layer. Packaging considerations for streaming and encapsulation, file ordering within the package for streaming. Okay. Packaging consideration for streaming and encapsulation, file ordering within packages for streaming. There are many interpretations and possible implementations. There are many interpretations and possible implementations and coding of streaming USD context, and we feel at this time that beyond the scope of at this time beyond the scope of USD's concerns to dictate how streaming must be achieved. Beyond the scope of USD's concern to dictate how streaming must be achieved. There are many interpretations and possible implementations of encoding of streaming context. Okay, we limit our concern in this matter to already stated default layer semantics. We dictate the first file in the package must be a USD file for package to be imageable directly on a stage. Okay. First file should be a USD file or a USDC file. Native USD file. Okay. Native USD file. Native USD file. Okay. Must be USD file for the package to be imageable directly on the stage. This means that consumer app can using the zip or wrapper provided by the USDC file format API determine the size of the first file and therefore know whether when it has been fully delivered and display the content of that file in its default state while waiting for the subsequent files described in layers metadata to be delivered. This enables many kinds of streaming to suggest a few LOD in which, level or definition in which the first file contains low complexity geometry with variant set that can bring higher quality LODs and other files when switched. In which first file binds to no or simple materials with a variant set that binds texture-driven materials when textures are available. Animation in which first file contains the static pose with a payload arc to another file containing animation. Okay, it is important to note that USD runtime has no knowledge or consideration of streaming it. It will be responsibility of the client application to manage the scene it's streaming. It is streaming and ensuring not to ask USD runtime to consume any part of the package that has not been delivered. In the particular, it must use the provided APIs to construct an SDF layer directly using offsets into incompletely downloaded USDZ package. rather than trying to point to a different USD stage directly at the incomplete USDZ package, as the USDZ file format will assume and require that package is consuming it complete and intact. What does this mean? It is important to note that USD runtime has no knowledge of okay, it will be responsibility of the okay, ensuring not to other USD and ensuring not to ask USD runtime to consume any part of the package that has not been delivered yet. In particular, it must use a provided API's construct and SDF layer directly. It must use the provided APIs to construct an SDF layer directly using offsets into a completely downloaded USD package, into an incompletely downloaded USD package, rather than trying to point to a USD stage directly at an incomplete USD package. Okay, as the USDZ file format will assume and require the package it is consuming is complete and intact. I see. For reproducible results, encapsulate using anchored asset paths to use in uniform consumption of asset shipped to client via USDZ. We feel it is prudent to curtail the power of USD's asset resolution system. It is prudent to curtail the power of USD. Curtail is, I think, decrease or control. Reduce, yes. Reduce in extent or quantity, impose restriction on. Okay. To ensure uniform consumption of assets shipped to clients via USDZ, we feel it is prudent to control the power of USD's asset resolution system so that asset references within the packages resolve uniformly on consuming system regardless of how that system's USD AR resolver is configured uniformly. Okay. Rather than making restrictions within the file format itself, we propose that such encapsulation of packages be achieved by restricting contents to only use anchored paths, paths that begin with dot slash or double dot slash, both which are interpreted in the virtual file system described by package's internal layout. Contents used to be anchored. Restricting the contents to only use anchored paths. We propose that such encapsulation of packages be achieved by restricting the contents to only use anchored paths. This does not prevent one from overriding the textures or other non-USD assets contained in encapsulated package by specifically overriding the attribute that name the asset in a layer stronger than package in a composition. Okay, I don't understand this part completely. Fuck are you doing? You are mute, you dumbass.
Oh, I was just reading the last line over here, the meme type, what it is saying over here.
It's mime type,
You,
brother.
yeah, meme type, a mime type, whatever.
But did you
Meme.
understand this part? Encapsulation.
Yeah, I did understood the encapsulation part, but I did not understand the last line, like over here. So this does not prevent one from overriding textures or other non-USD assets containing encapsulated package by specifically overriding the attribute that name in a layer. Oh, okay.
But what is the first paragraph? What does this mean? Anchored paths. How do we use the anchored paths?
So to ensure uniform consumption of assets shipped to client by user, we feel it prudent to curtail the power used asset resolution system on any regardless of how user is there. So rather than make restriction within the file format itself, we propose that such encapsulation package be achieved by restricting the content to only use an anchored paths, the paths and beginning both of which are interpreted in virtual described by. Okay.
Latte. Cafe latte.
Okay, so I think based on my understanding, what it is saying over here is, do you know how AI resolver works?
No.
You remember how AR resolver works?
No, that's what I'm saying. How does it work?
AR resolver will basically resolve your relative paths, right? Any relative paths or anything else, but not custom paths. Relative paths, relative reference arcs, or anything that you define
Mm-hmm.
based on the file system. So for example, wait, I think I got a message. Yeah, I think yeah. So let's say we have an example of you have a asset file that is referenced in your system, that is home shoria learn openusd slash assets slash something,
Mm-hmm.
right?
Yeah.
And so and when you give me the whole code, when you give me the code into a usd z file or something,
Mm-hmm.
and when my AI resolver tries to resolve it, it will resolve it accordingly based on home Aditya slash learn OpenUSD slash assets and the file path that is going to be indefinitely over there,
Mm-hmm.
right? So what over here it is saying that instead of making restriction on the file format itself, like okay, how your file format will be defined, like cause over here it says that however your AR resolver is configured, let's say your AR resolver is configured to a certain definition or to a certain file path based on how you want to define it. So for example, over here AR resolver is configured means maybe that your AR resolver is configured directly from slash home shoria, then there is some other folder, and then there
Mm-hmm.
is more folders inside it, right? And then you will have the AR resolver look into that folder to resolve the asset path, and basically adding more additional folders that should not exist. So that
Mm-hmm.
becomes really tedious. So instead of that, what we will do, we will use dot slash dot slash. So what this will do, so if you use dot slash, then it's gonna pick up your first directory. So what dot slash means over here is, let's say you are in a file folder learn openusd,
Mm-hmm.
and you have a file named s.jpg or s.asset or s.usd. If you want to
Wait. I'm not following whatever you're saying. I'll just ask Charlie.
all right, bro. I think after this, I'm gonna leave because yeah, we have to catch a train
You can go and catch a train, but don't catch feelings.
for sure, brother. And Big Boss messaged Chale, like, okay, brother.
Can you show Big Boss on our stream, please?
No, the Big Boss is right now in his den.
Can he give us a celebrity appearance on the stream, please?
Big Boss, audience, Big Boss. Oh no, I think he's busy.
Mm, busy
Mm.
with.
All right, the statement when you ship a USDZ package to someone else, the internal references should point to files inside packaging using dot slash instead of relying on studio path specific AR resolver. Okay. Yeah, this is what I was saying indirectly. This makes the asset behave the same on every machine, even if the client does not have your asset resolver, asset database, or directory structure. So what it is, a USD-Z file is package archive that can that can contain USD file, images, and audio files. The official USD-Z can describe it as zero compression, unencrypted zip archive that can include .usd, AC, PN, .png, JPEG, EXR, AVIF, M4A, MP3, and .wav. So if we think of it like this, share.usd Z, then we have default layer.usd, then we have model, then texture. So inside default layer.usd, the reference should point to file inside the package. So that means, okay, oh yeah, this is what I was saying. At the rate dot slash model
That
shared
is an
updates.
anchored asset path. Okay.
But but you have to take a look at the dot slash. That is the most important thing over there. Anchor will be always there. You have to look at the
Okay.
dot
All
slash.
internal reference should point to the files inside the package using
Yeah,
dot
you cannot
slash.
have you cannot have complete file names. You will
Oh,
always
dot
have relation.
slash. Okay, this
Yes,
part.
yes. This
Or
is what I
dot
was
dot
talking.
slash. Okay.
Dot slash means you have to go two folders up to take a look at the file. So
Oh,
let's
like
say, let's say
CD space
yeah,
dot dot or C. Okay. C instead of relying on studio specific AI resolver. Okay, so it is basically trying to say that you should not depend on the AI resolver of the client application.
yes. So like
You
you
should specify
yeah, because
the
you can also depend on it, but that AI resolver will mess it up somewhere because AI resolver
uh,
basis is that he has to resolve the custom path at any point, right? So for example, the custom path is defined in a different manner, right, as
mhm.
compared to the file that you have worked on in your system. So AI resolver will still try to resolve it, but somehow it will break, or it will have some kind of issues over there,
All
right? So
right.
to avoid that, because the whole, so if someone uses the complete file path name, it's gonna mess it up.
So this is an anchored asset path. Okay, why it matters? USD normally has a powerful asset resolution system called AI resolver. The resolver decides what an asset path means. For example, in Studio Pipeline, this might work, or this might work, but this may work perfectly inside the studio because the studio has a custom AI resolver. But when you send an asset to a client, their machine may not understand these paths. So, client machine, okay, it's broken reference. So, USDZ proposal says for client delivery, curtail the power of asset resolution. In simple words, do not let the asset depend on the external asset resolver. Okay. Now, package self-contained. What encapsulation means here? Encapsulation means the package contains everything it needs. Bad client delivery model. Okay.
Mhm.
Uh-huh. Okay. So it should contain
Mhm.
everything it needs inside .usd. Okay. 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 I think I understand this. So you want
Yeah.
to leave or do you want to complete this?
I'm gonna leave now. I think we have to catch a train, so that's
Okay.
why. All right, adios.
All right. Later.